We're in the 17th chapter of Revelation. And here is a mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Now the 7 mountains literally identify with the city of Rome, because Rome sits amid 7 hills. So now we're focusing in on the Roman, or later called Catholic Church. Take note in verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters in which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. Now here God is trying to show that all people have some kind of way identified or been touched or influenced by this Babylonian church. Verse 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. The woman, or this religion now, which thou sawest, which is being revealed through prophecy to John, is that great city, or the city of Rome, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, or that ruled the world at that dispensation of time. We're talking about the time of Constantine the Great, the father of the Roman Catholic Church. Now take note in verse 18, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Or this Babylonian church now has fallen to humanity, or been revealed or exposed to humanity and the Christian church, until actually all human ethnic groups in one way or another have been touched by this Babylonian influence. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, or her sins. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, verse 3 is very important, especially the latter part. The merchants of the earth are grown rich through the abundance of her delicacies. I said at Christmas time, merchants means store owners, if you apply it today. Christmas time, the store owners get rich as no other time in the year. Christmas and Easter and Halloween, the store merchants make their money. They don't care what happens during the rest of the year, as long as they can get over Christmas, Easter, and Halloween. We're talking about the retail industry, Kmart and those places. All right, now this is Bible prophecy here that you see in chapter 18, verse 3. Verse 4, I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, or my church. Don't be influenced by this religion, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Any people who identify with these heathen festivals are subject to the wrath of God. And I said, and we read in the book of John, I believe it was, or rather in the 1 Corinthians 11th chapter, many people are sick and many sleep before their time because of disobedience. We have to realize if we're going to worship God, we have to worship God according to the instructions of God. We can't, and I'm saying this, you got to take this in deeply and sincerely. You can't compromise for this religious festival for the sake of loved ones. Now I'm saying you're going to be rejected by family members whenever you tell them you don't believe in Christmas. What, you don't believe in Christmas? Christmas for the birth of Christ. I'll believe in it if you show it to me in the Bible. But they can't show it to you in the Bible. Amen. So we have to take the Bible word for it. Now if they want to be instructed in the ways of godliness, then we can teach them. But most of the time, people are so caught up in the tradition that they don't understand it's not of God. And if it's not of God, it must be a reproach unto God. So we can't take part in this heathen festival. We have to identify, we have to speak out against it, and we can't fall to the tricks of the trade. Well, I brought a couple of gifts for the kids. Amen. This is from Aunt Lucy to my nephew, to my niece. You can't take part in that, because then you're being a partaker of their sins. Look over in 1 John chapter 2. Let's see the seriousness of this. Second epistle of John. Let's start at verse 9. Whosoever transgress and abideth not in the doctrine. All right, now I want you to hold your place right there. Whosoever transgress means disobey, is that right? And abideth not in the doctrine. Hold your place right there and turn over to Deuteronomy 18 and 9. Everyone have it. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. Now this is an instruction from God. When I bring you to the land that I give you, you can't learn those heathen customs. Now we already shared about Jeremiah the 10th chapter, how God warned against the so-called decorated tree. Verse 10, there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or daughter to pass through fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of time, fortune telling, all that in horoscope, all that is of the devil. It's not of God. And God gives a warning. Verse 11, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Anyone identifying with fortune telling, or astronomy, or horoscope. All of these things are an abomination unto God. All right, now take note in, I want to connect this with Colossians 2 and 8. And we're going to wind it right back into 2nd Epistle of John. Colossians 2nd chapter, verse 8. Everyone have it? And look how he starts this out. The apostle starts out by saying, beware. Beware is a warning to the New Testament church. Is that right? Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, or the customs of the world, and not after Christ. This, again, is a New Testament warning. All right, turn back over to 2nd Epistle of John, verse 9. Whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. Now look at verse 10. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine. Now it's talking about the writings of the apostles and the prophets that is condensed in the book that we call the Bible. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed, for he that biddeth him Godspeed is a partaker of his evil deeds. What am I saying here? If you accept a Christmas gift from your loved ones, oh, well, I'm doing this because I just want to pacify them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. But this makes you a partaker of their sin. See, you can't have it both ways. You can't have Jesus and the devil. I don't care how the devil cleans up himself, how he beautifies himself. He's still the devil. Call him Beelzebub, Lucifer. He's still the devil. Amen. So we have to understand, we can't have any identification with anything that's not of God. All right? If there come any unto you and bring not this doctrine, talking about the apostles' doctrine or teachings, receive him not in your house, neither bid him Godspeed, for he that bid him Godspeed is a partaker of his evil deeds. It's the same thing as if you committed the sin yourself. But I don't believe in it. But I just don't want to hurt their feelings. I would rather hurt their feelings than offend God. Church, we have to stand up and really be counted, because these are trying times that we are in. And these festivals that are coming, like Easter and the past Halloween and the so-called Christmas festival that's coming around the corner, we've got to understand these are heathen in nature and have no biblical foundation. And if they have no biblical foundation, we already shared, except you strive lawfully. If it's not biblical, then it's not lawfully. And if it's not lawfully, it's not legal in the sight of God. That makes it a willful sin. Let's take note in the book of Hebrews, 10th chapter. Show the importance of what we're trying to say here. Verse 26. If we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain and fearful looking of judgment, and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. Anyone that opposes the writings of the apostles of God or the prophets concerning the Old Testament, that makes you an adversary.